Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 46th episode of Dads and getting ready for the Snowmahog. I don't know if you've seen this hashtag, Brent, but the official hashtag for the Groundhog Day snowstorm that is coming tomorrow is Snowmahog.
Yeah, no, my sister sent me that one as well in the conversation we had prior to our start here. She's been rubbing in my face that it's snow day time there tomorrow.
Yes, everyone in the Omaha metropolitan area has canceled school for tomorrow, although it has not started snowing yet. But apparently tomorrow morning is going to be horrible. So, no big deal. As I said on some social media platform, what better way to hunker down and get ready for the Snowmahog than to hang out with Dads and Ed? We've got a fantastic guest tonight, Joe Sanfelippo from Fall Creek, Wisconsin. Maybe we can get him to call us Snow Day live on air. That'd be a Dads and Ed first. You know, the official announcement via Dads and Ed. I'm sure all his staff is watching. Josh Allen, pleased as always to be joining you. Work in Council Bluffs, live on the other side of the river in Nebraska. 3 wonderful kids. We will have a 8-year-old the next time. I think the next time we join us. 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. Brent.
Yes, Brent Kallett here from Kansas City, Missouri, Independent School District. Excited to be here tonight. I've got 5 kids, a beautiful wife, an amazing supportive wife, and just really looking forward to this conversation tonight with Joe. As an aspiring superintendent myself, I'm excited to have a superintendent on the show tonight and just dig in with him about some of the things he's got going on. So, although it's not snowing here and it's much nicer, 180 some plus miles south of Dejock, you know, it's amazing what a little further to the south will do.
It is. I was told it was a beautiful weekend, 65 down there in Casey. One of my bosses rubbed it in today. You mentioned excited about being an aspiring superintendent, having Joe on tonight. I'm excited to have another bald guy on the show tonight. So Joe keeps it real with the shaved head. So I'm glad to have him on. At any time, you can connect with the show. Our Twitter handle is @DadsandEd. You can use the hashtag #DadsandEd. We're on Google+. We don't really use Google+ a whole lot. Someone was asking me today, a good friend of the show, Jim York, was asking about watching us via mobile. I told him to just hit up YouTube, hit up our YouTube channel, watch live there. Can you do that in Google+ still? On the app?
No, it's still like an event that's there. Yeah, so I think you could still grab it that way.
Okay. So you can do that. We are on the Edgy Podcast Network. You can find our link there, the website dadsanded.podbean.com. Or if you ever miss a show, just go subscribe in iTunes, and it's hand-delivered to you like a fun package from Amazon. Only digital, and no one has dropped. So the fun part about this evening is that my internet will now just randomly drop and come back up. So, Brent, you can take it away whenever you need to. It's only about 10 seconds. Maybe if I knew when it was coming, I would say let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. But unfortunately, I don't know when that's happening.
I know I was debating, like, should I come up with a commercial? We could do, and once it stops, I'll go into commercial mode.
Well, it looks like the third member of our show, we actually kind of forgot to mention that Devin wasn't here.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Well, hello, Devin.
Yeah, that's so nice. Feeling the love.
Yeah, well, sometimes we forget our third wheel. So, Devin, since we haven't introduced you, introduce yourself and let us know what you've been up to.
Wow. Well, I'm Devin Schoening. I'm the K-12 Instructional Technology Program Lead in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Just got done at the Iowa caucus at my local caucus site with my wife, beautiful wife, and 2 daughters. They went and observed, watched the process. A little bit like watching paint dry tonight. Not an eventful caucus location for me, except for the fact that we had to count about 15 times to make sure things matched up. So, yeah, just got done doing my duty as a citizen.
And for the
So we're at a station identification here. You're listening to Dads and Ed on the Education Podcast Network.
yeah, I'm guessing Mr. Nessie is a little bit reconsidering having us on. Our link may just happen to disappear this week from the Edu Podcast Network.
Josh, I nailed that one.
Good, thank you. I appreciate that.
Devin,
Devin, so
What's going
Devin,
on?
so randomly my internet's going to drop out every now and then. I have no idea why. I didn't notice it until I was getting set up. So we were discussing that it's kind of like, when they say we're going to pause 10 seconds for station identification, but I don't know when it's going to happen. So Brent's just going to pick that up.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
At least we have a plan.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? That's better than some nights.
Yeah, it is. That's a step in the right direction.
Those of you watching or listening on the podcast can't see Devin's shirt, but Devin hung out in the corner for Jon Stewart for president.
Yeah, I caucused for Jon Stewart tonight. I love the shirt says, the tagline at the bottom says, strength, courage, and now plenty of free time. So I went and stood in the corner and caucused for Jon Stewart tonight. It didn't work. It was not viable. My group was not viable of one. So I did not stay in my corner. I joined another preference group.
Your wife wouldn't even join you?
No, my wife and I were in different preference groups tonight.
Oh, all right.
We were not there supporting the same candidate. So that's all right. She kind of goes with the wind. She was on one side and then she was on the other side, and it's just whoever got to her last was really what was going to happen.
We'll move on quickly from that before she actually starts watching and catches up to this.
Yeah, she's driving dog food.
That's good.
The blizzard is coming. The blizzard is coming.
Yeah, gotta have dog food.
So the dog doesn't eat you. Saw that in a movie once. So today is Monday. Today is beginning Super Bowl week. We have the matchup that probably the NFL isn't crazy about, but they've got two very distinct storylines, so maybe they're good with it. It is Super Bowl week. You have the Peyton Manning-led Denver Broncos, possibly his last rodeo, which apparently he told Bill Belichick after the game. And you have Cam Newton that, for whatever reason, seems to be a lightning rod. He claims it's because of race and his just overall excitement. And can't say I probably argue with him. I think there's a lot of truth to that, unfortunately. But Carolina opened as the early favorites. So, gentlemen, what say you? Where would you lay your $5 down at of Monopoly money? Because gambling is illegal and it's bad.
Yeah,
hypothetically.
I would never gamble. And growing up in Nebraska, I was brought up in a house where my dad said that the cardinal sin of gambling is to bet on Nebraska. So you just avoided that at all costs. So I kind of went with the I'm just never going to gamble, which I may or may not have kept to that statement over the course of my life. I mean, if you fantasy football and other items that occasionally have some things involved.
Where'd your wife take you on your 40th birthday again?
I believe that it's a place in Nevada somewhere.
Okay, carry on. Just wondering.
They have great shows there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
just
great.
Like Playboy has nice articles too.
But no, I think Carolina runs away with this. I don't know. They just seem to be kind of on fire, and I know they only lost one game, and otherwise, boy, they have just really offensively seem to be clicking on all cylinders. I guess one storyline certainly is you got Denver with an awesome defense, so how that matches up with their offense will be interesting to see. But I just don't quite know if, as much as I'd love to see Peyton ride off in the sunset with a championship, because I think he's a great guy, and certainly been a great quarterback in the league, I don't know that he pulls it off. I think if I had to pick, I'd go with Carolina.
Yeah, I think I probably would too, but That being said, I think what most good gamblers should do is wherever all the money is being laid, you lay money the opposite. Isn't that the way that
Sure.
works?
I don't know
Okay,
because I don't know that anybody really has it down and wins. That's
yeah, maybe not. Maybe
Apple
that's why
option.
I shouldn't gamble.
Right.
I'll go with Denver though. What the heck? It's the best storyline that's available, and as you know, I like stories. We've talked about this before. I think I enjoy a good story, so I'm going to go with that story. Peyton Manning rides off into the sunset, and within 6 months, has his Super Bowl title stripped away for using HGH. How about that?
Where's the breaking news sound? Wow.
Well, you know,
I'm ready for that one.
The story is out there.
Allegedly.
I think that's probably not true. I'm just saying that's a good story.
Well, our legal department says we have to say allegedly when you accuse people of things that they haven't been prosecuted for yet.
I didn't accuse anyone of anything. I'm just reporting the news.
Oh yeah, I actually think it'll be a close game. I think Denver's defense makes it close, but I think Carolina wins in the end. I think Cam Newton's too much. He's phenomenal. He's fun to watch. I'll go Carolina as well.
Yeah, Cam Newton is pretty amazing.
Someone brought up today, like, when you're playing Tom Brady, you have like a 2-foot window that you know that he is going to be in on every play. Cam Newton, you have no idea. He's all over the place. So, anyway.
I saw a thing on him, like his body size and span and all that is like LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of crazy for me to put LeBron James as quarterback and doing what he's doing. And I know, like, John Gruden, I was watching I don't know, it was like a Monday night one time during the season this year, and he was talking about how involved Cam is in the offense, and they put him out there and he just gets nailed, and he just thinks that they're crazy and he's going to end up getting hurt. But he's a phenomenal athlete, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It'll be fun to watch.
Can I
on Sunday?
Can I interrupt this for a second to say that, holy cow, with 52% of precincts reporting in Iowa, Ted Cruz is currently your Republican leader in the clubhouse. Ted Cruz.
I've said all along, I think this whole Donald Trump thing, I think when people pick up the phone and answer that survey, I think they're just doing it to make fun of him. Honestly. I think it's a joke.
Yeah. I was not at a Republican caucus tonight. I was at Democrats caucus, just to put that out there too. All right. Back to the regular schedule. I just wanted to throw that in. I saw that Ted Cruz is currently winning Iowa.
I appreciate you reporting from our political bureau in Iowa.
I'm at the political desk. Don't worry, I got this one covered.
Oh, dad moment of the week. So my wife is teaching Sunday school classes every other week, and this week they were talking about things they love or something like that. And my son and I were scheduled to go to the International Auto Show, which was in town this weekend. And he put down that he loves being able to spend time with
And you're listening to Dad's Ned on the Education Podcast.
It's probably a good thing that I'm not on when that happens, because we'd have a whole new vocabulary for this show. Anyway, I knew that was going to happen too, because I'm starting to get a little bit more timed out, and it happened while one of you were talking, so I knew at some point I would be interrupted like that. So anyway, back to my awesome story. It wasn't good the first time, so I'm not sure why it's going to be better the second time. So he gets excited about that kind of stuff. It is so much fun to see him just walk around and just check out the cars. And he is actually more interested in the interior design of the cars than anything else. Just like checking out where the backup camera is and how do they do the inner console and like that kind of stuff. So we had a great time yesterday. The International Auto Show is phenomenal. He spent just as much time hanging out in the Camaro as he does in like the transport vans or like the cargo vans that they have there. So it's pretty funny to watch. So Devin, go ahead.
Well, I'll stick with the political theme for the night, at least for me. It's kind of fun having, we've taken the girls to a couple of political events now, and took them to the caucus tonight where they can observe. Um, and like I said, it wasn't the most rousing of all events tonight. I didn't think, not the most rousing one I've ever been to, but Gracie at the end of it was talking about how fun it was, how cool it was, and that's what I wanted to hear. Like, I want to raise nerdy kids like that enjoy going to the caucus as an 11-year-old and think it's kind of fun and cool. And we also had yesterday, we went to Hillary Clinton was visiting Abraham Lincoln High School in Council Bluffs, and we happened to be able to get inside there, and they sat right behind Hillary. With about 20 other people, so they were on TV the whole night. Every clip that was shown from there, they were right behind, and then they got to meet her afterwards, and it's just kind of a cool thing, whether regardless of political affiliation, being able to have those kinds of experiences. I've talked a lot about, I think we've talked about this, that experiences that kids get to have oftentimes are able to shape kind of some of the opportunities they have later in life, and lots of people don't have those kinds of opportunities. So it was kind of cool to be able to give that to them and have them there, and have them not think it was a total gigantic waste of time. So that was awesome.
Cool. That is, the picture that your girls had with Hillary Clinton was fantastic.
Yeah, it was. And since they were up on stage, she went back after she made her way through kind of the line of people, went back and just said hello and took a picture with those 20 people or so that were sitting behind her, and they said she was very nice, and took pictures. And Gracie, I don't know if it was posted or not, but Gracie took a selfie with her, and it was kind of cool, kind of a fun thing.
Cool.
Awesome.
Brett.
Yeah, very cool, Devin. I'm gonna go with something a little less political. I taught my daughter and son, particularly my 4-year-old, how to play Uno, and we have had some fun matches around the table now, my wife and I, and the couple of the older kids, and just have really enjoyed kind of getting into that with them. And at the moment, I'm still teaching them where cards are up, so I can see what they have, so I can help what card to play. But they're already kind of quickly picking up some of the strategy and that sort of stuff. So it's just been kind of fun, just a little game time. And we've been doing a lot of puzzles. I just really enjoy the puzzle thing at the house with the kids, and that quiet, critical thinking time, and chance to just visit and talk and be off of devices and stuff. So just been really enjoying those moments with them, and I feel like I need to do a better job as a dad reading to my kids, and I don't do that enough. I've been trying to step that up, and I don't know, just been kind of evaluating myself in some of those areas where I think I can improve, and those are certainly areas that I want to get better. So it's just been kind of fun of late, trying to change it up a little bit, with everything that you have going on in life. Sometimes it's so easy to put them off and be busy doing all this other stuff, and just sitting down and playing games can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the game thing is fun. The game thing is something I know that there are times we'll go through playing games all the time, and then we'll get away from it for a while and be like, why did we get away from that? It's so much fun just sit and play games. So yeah.
Well, it's amazing all the things that we have available to us. Around.
Brent?
You're listening to the Dads and Ed podcast on the Education Podcast Network.
Well timed.
Good job.
Unbelievable.
I hesitated there, Josh. I was waiting. I was hoping. So.
Me too. It's really funny because I'm like, oh, you guys are cutting out, and I was like, nope, that would be me. Anyway, but it is like it's kind of fun that we have so much to do around the house and all this stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, hey, let's play some games a little bit more. So you can come back to them. But all right. Well, I was checking out this new podcast the other day called Successful Schools, and it was really nice that the first probably 2 minutes of it included the words something about "Welcome to the train wreck." So I am very confident that tonight's guest will feel right at home with the train wreck that we.
That we what?
Tell me what, Josh. Tell me what.
Dads and Ed, Joe.
Welcome to Dads and Ed, fantastic podcast featuring all the great things that dads do in education. Here with your host, Brett and Josh.
Now he's muted himself. Now we can't hear him.
Yeah, it happens.
Good grief. What kind of a train wreck is this?
It might be time to shift the duties over to you, Devin, as the host tonight. We'll let Devin take Josh take co-hosting duties.
Right.
Well, Joe, thanks for going. I don't know where Josh was going with that story he was telling, but here's what we were just doing, and I would love to hear this from you. We kind of share something every time we're together, kind of our favorite moment as being fans in the last couple of weeks, something we did with our kids or something we did as a family. Got anything that you've done the last couple of weeks that you're like, you know what, that was pretty cool?
Yeah, so I would probably say, so Friday night was my daughter's first gymnastics meet. So we and she's 9 and she's crazy. Like she will cut you. Like she will straight cut you and she won't even think twice about it. Girl's nasty, right? But she's the cutest little thing you'll ever see. And she has been doing gymnastics for a couple of years now, but hasn't had a meet. So this was her first opportunity to go and compete. And we were kind of wondering, like, oh goodness, like how is this going to go? And she does well the first time. She gets like a 9th on something. So we're like, oh my goodness, thank goodness she got something. So that's good. And she ended up like taking 2nd in her floor and 6th overall. So she did really, really well for her first time. But that was, to me, it was just kind of like I coach my son's basketball team, and I go take my daughter to gymnastics, from time to time, more often than not. And then my other son is really into drama, and so we get to watch him perform on stage. And so this was really the first time that we got a chance to see Allie perform in front of a group of people, and she just killed it. She had so much fun, and she was smiling from ear to ear. So that was definitely the highlight over the course of the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, as we're kind of getting going here with having you on, one thing, if you could just take a minute or two, or however long you need, to kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and maybe a little bit about your family, which you already just started doing, and maybe kind of your educational journey, where you started out and how you've gotten to where you are now.
Yeah, okay, so my name is Joe Sanfelippo. I'm the superintendent in the Fall Creek School District, home of the Fall Creek Crickets. Go Crickets! I knew you guys were going to say it, so I beat you to it, right? And and so I have been the superintendent in Fall Creek for 5 years. Prior to that, I was an elementary principal in Fall Creek for a year, and then before that, I was an elementary principal in a bigger town called Eau Claire, which is about an hour and a half east of Minneapolis-St. Paul on the good side, on Wisconsin side. So, those are the admin jobs that I've had over the course of the last 10 years. Prior to that, I was a counselor at an elementary school, and I coached basketball and golf at a high school during that time. And then I've taught 5th grade, I've taught 2nd grade, and I've taught kindergarten. So I've kind of run the gamut of all this, as far as, top to bottom, coaching high school kids and hanging out with, 5-year-olds and wiping noses and stuff. So we've done the whole deal, and there's some things I like about all of it. But we used to live right outside of Green Bay, and it was a great place to live. I loved it there, and my wife liked it too. But she had gone to school in this area of the state, so at some point she said, let's see if we can find a way to get back over to that area of the state because she liked it so much. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that there was a principal opening in this, and we just kind of, like sometimes you get into a groove, and I just got into a groove with interviews and all that stuff. So that's it was just meant to be. So we ended up in a really cool place. And then when we came to Fall Creek, we knew we wanted to grow, raise our family in a smaller town. And then for some unforsaken reason, this thing just kind of opened up to me. And I got a call from the superintendent that was the interim superintendent, and he said, just come out and take a look. If you just would just give us a shot, just give us a look out here. and I drive into town, and town is literally one street, like one main street. So I drive into town, and as I'm driving up to the school, I see kids, like every kid has green on. Every kid's got a Fall Creek hat. Every kid's got something in Fall Creek, and I'm like, you know what? This is my place, man. Even before I went through the interview, I was like just talking to my wife, and I'm like, this is pretty special. And I didn't even know. I knew nobody at that point. And I walked in, and it turned out to be a really good scenario, and the board was fantastic. And we've actually had the board turn over a couple times, and every time the board is turned over, it's the mission and vision has stayed the same, and people still trust what we do. And and the thought that we can create some leverage that over just with people knowing who we are and what we do in a town of 800 kids, or a town of 1,300, but 800 kids in our school district K-12. That's a pretty special thing. So my wife was a second grade teacher and a special ed teacher, probably the best teacher I have ever seen in my life. I would say automatically the best, but she would refute it. But she's phenomenal. And now she's getting a chance to teach adults. She's a nutritional therapy practitioner, so she's teaching classes on how to get people healthy and eating right and that kind of thing, and she loves it. And it's so cool to see her leverage the social media and get into a place where she feels like she can impact change, not just in her own community, but in all over the place. So I'm so proud of her and the work that she's doing, and she's amazing. So it's really cool to see that piece grow and her kind of get really excited about learning all these new things and teaching people these new things. So yeah, so that's who I am. That's what we're all about.
Well, that's cool. And I know that I think before Brent asks, I think he has a question for you. And this is not our opinion. This is something from the outside. But Tom Murray says to tell you that your forehead is reflecting.
Tom Murray needs to get a job.
Again, that's not on us. That's on Tom. But I just felt like I needed to share.
Do you know? See, okay, so I'm in my basement right now. Okay, so now Tom's not going to tell you this, but his office is actually his parents' house. So let's not. If he's going to start this game, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, Murray. We'll play all night. I'm here all night, man. So yeah, I've probably shied. Yeah, there it is in a cricket. I hear that. He probably told you to do that too, Murray. If I didn't like Tom Murray so much, we'd have a problem. But I like that dude, so that's all right. That's good stuff.
Joe, I was a little late on my cricket sound stuff there from earlier when you said go cricket. So
yeah, that's right. It'll come out sometime. But yeah, we're so cranked to be in this. I mean, honestly, it's like, you sometimes just find a spot, and this is like, and the board's so trusting, and like we asked them, hey, can we do this? We're gonna do this and that. And it's like every time, go do it, give it a shot. Everything that we've brought to them, everything. Give it a shot. Just make sure you're responsible, and you come back and tell us about it. Okay? Fantastic. And I think our teachers are starting to realize that that's like, that can be for them so empowering, and that's a really, really cool deal.
That's awesome. Joe, I'm getting my doctorate, and I'm kind of interested in becoming a superintendent someday.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited to have you on the show tonight to get to kind of hear your take, and I've had a chance to listen to some of the podcast work you've been doing, and I'm kind of curious, as you've become superintendent, I believe for 5 years now, how has your role in education changed, and kind of like how are you embracing that role versus the time when you were teacher and principal? And I know you talked so far from my research, and we do that really well on this team, by the way. I've seen like the idea of empowerment coming up a lot. It seems to be something you're pretty passionate about. So can you kind of speak to how this role has empowered you, and in what ways?
Well, I think the first thing is that we have to understand from an educational lens that we exist because of kids. Like, that's why we have jobs. So, and then we exist as leaders because we have teachers that do amazing things with kids. Without those things, we have nothing. Why are we here? So if you go back to the why, like, why do we do what we do? Our job is really to empower the people around us to make sure that when they leave us, they are in a position to change the world. right? So that doesn't matter if it's adult or kids. What matters is that we give whoever is in our under our umbrella, we give them the opportunity to change the world when they leave our place, whatever place that is. And I think that sometimes it's just getting out of the way. And sometimes it's not getting out of the way, it's providing resource and time, but support and really authentically being there in the moment for them. And I think from a superintendent lens, when I get really, okay, there's two extremes to this. When I get really jazzed about what's going on in schools, it's because I'm there hanging out with kids, talking to teachers, and really getting invested. And when I feel like things are not going well, it's not on them, it's on me because I'm not in those spaces as much as I should be. And that's totally on me. Like, you get so locked into something that you're doing, and the next thing you're like, oh my goodness, 4 hours went by, and you're like, I haven't seen a kindergarten kid today, and that's awful. So I think the biggest thing for us is to make sure that we have people in our positions that tell us, get up, get out of your chair, make sure you get to a kindergarten classroom, go talk to somebody, like, remember why you're there. Because I think that there's this mentality that, and I'll be totally honest, right? Like, from the superintendent lens, like, we don't lack ego, okay? We don't. That's me included. You get to this point, we don't lack ego. And understand that if we feel like we've arrived, though, you get to that place and you feel like you've arrived, now we've got a problem. Because now if you're not modeling the learning, we lead learning organizations, for God's sakes. So if you're not leading the learning in that organization, what are you doing? So
yeah, I know. I heard you on the podcast talk about, like, if you were to leave, that that things would just continue on as they were. And that, I think, is a pretty powerful statement in the sense of, I always say, like, hey, everybody's replaceable. And I think from that ego standpoint, sometimes we can get caught up in that, hey, if we're making this thing go round, and that if we left, boy, the district would be, they'd be totally at a loss. And I just appreciated that statement because I agree with you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think what it comes down to, honestly, and there are times where I feel like I just don't do this well, honestly, and I think that you have to be really, like, introspective of what you do, how you have that conversation with yourself, and that, there are times I just feel like I'm not doing my job in terms of, like, connecting with people, and that's sad for me. That's the worst feeling that I get, honestly, when I walk around school and I feel almost like alienated because I haven't been in the space enough. So then you try to make up for that, and then it feels awkward. But if you're there all the time and you're in classrooms, it doesn't feel weird, and it's better, obviously. But when you're away for a couple days, or you're in meetings for a couple days, and then you go back into the space and it just doesn't feel right, that's totally on you as a superintendent. So we got to understand that, we model the way, and we can't expect our group to go, to surpass what we do if we're just going to leave it at one level.
No, I think Josh is trying to talk, but
but don't go. We should all just stop at one spot.
We could do a bad lip reading dub of just what Josh is saying. We could try it.
That's right.
Hey, I heard you say it a number of times. I'm curious your response. You talked about trust a lot when you were talking about your school board, and I think you would say maybe the same thing about your district as a whole with the folks you work with. How do you build that trust? What are things that you can think of that either you have done personally or you all have done as a team to build that trust, and the trust that's necessary to really push districts forward?
Yeah, I think the first thing, honestly, is just listening to people. And that goes without saying. I think it really just, that's the first thing. Like, just sit down and listen to people and see where they're at. And I love, like, when people go into a district, sometimes we were talking about, like, if you go online and you take a look at, like, leadership questions or, like, superintendent questions, you Google that. The first one is almost always, well, either it's what's your philosophy of education, or the second one is what's your vision for the school district. And that always cracks me up, because if it's your vision for the school district, you're totally missing the point, because it's not yours. It's not your school district. It's theirs. You're there to make sure that the board and the staff and the community and the kids all get along in some capacity. And at the end of what you do, if all you do is shout out the wonderful things that are happening in your school district, you're farther ahead than most, right? But that's got to be the baseline. That's got to be like, okay, so it's my job to amplify the voices of the great things that are happening in this space. Perfect. All right, so I'm here. Now, after I do that, let's make sure that people feel empowered to do the work that they want to do. Perfect. Okay, so now we got those two things, and now we can go. So once we've got those two things down and we're really empowering people, and that takes a while because when we talk about empowerment, we also talk about that in the area of professional growth and professional growth for our staff. Right. And when we do that, like we told people 3 years ago now, we treat professional development like Genius Hour. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to learn, however you want to grow, that's you. That's how you do it. And after that, when you're doing that, we're going to trust you to do that, and we're going to give you feedback on that. I'm not going to tell you that you need to get better, at whatever, because I don't know that you need to get better at whatever. I'm not there every day. I have to trust you to say that you need to get better. And of course, some people are going to skirt the process. Of course they are. But you know what? Some people are going to skirt the process anyway. If you put them in a room and professionally develop them for an hour at a time in front of 60 people. So, why are you punishing 58 of them? Because 2 of them, we're just going to sit back and do whatever they want to do anyway.
Right.
Hey, can I talk?
Yeah.
I think that's all on you, man. I don't know.
It is totally on me. I got to talk fast. Shout out to Dads and Ed, super fan, Bill Little, really not super fan, super critiquer, and super likes to give us crap. But Bill, thanks for joining in. Tom, thanks for covering up your faux pas and giving Joe a shout out. I'm sure our check from when you were a guest is still in the mail too. Joe, you can complain about him being a guest first, but as you know, you don't want to set the bar too high. You got to ease your way in, right?
That's exactly right.
Joe, kind of all of us, have kids different ages. We all start teaching at different ages. So I don't know exactly, with your timeline, if you were a parent or an educator first, and you can say a lot of those go back and forth. But as your kids have gotten older and as you've progressed, in education, how have those two things affected each other?
Mm-hmm. I think it completely turns the table on how you do things. So when we moved to, so I taught 5th grade when my son Aiden was born, who's now a freshman, and then Kayla was born right before we moved into the principal position. So when we moved to this area of the state, we specifically moved to a different side of town than where I worked because we didn't want the kids to be treated differently because I was the principal in their school, right? And I was very like, this is, I tell my wife, wherever we move, you get to pick the house, you get to pick the neighborhood, you get to pick whatever. As long as I get a new TV, I don't care where we live, right? So that happens. Anytime we move, I get a new TV. I don't care where we go, though. We can live in a box. We can live in the TV box. I don't care. As long as I get the TV, we're good. And I just got a new one, so life is good. So, but I was very nervous about that. Well, I came to find out that it didn't matter. Everybody knew that they were a principal's kid anyway, even at a different school. So it didn't matter. So when we moved to Fall Creek, it was like a total change in that all 3 of my kids now go to school in the same building where I work. So I can walk down the hall at any time and see all 3 of them, and I do. I try to get there. I try to get down and see them at least once a day, just to check in, say hi, give them a wave, and that kind of thing. And that totally changed my perspective because I'm so lucky to be able to walk down and see them whenever I want. And it's like, and when it comes to like the logistical stuff of school, I let Andrea take care of all of that stuff. Like she does all the conferences, she does all the communications and stuff like that. And that's just, I want to, I actually, I don't know why we do that. I think it just makes it, I think it makes it easier on the teacher, to be honest, that they don't have the superintendent walking into the classroom asking questions about, what type of instructional practice is going on here and why did my kid get a worksheet, so. But they know too. They also, if they watch my Twitter feed, they know, and they do. They know how I feel about homework. They know how I feel about worksheets. They know how I feel about experiences that are not authentic for kids. They know that, and I think that has an impact on how they carry themselves, not only with my kids, but with all kids.
That's awesome, Joe. Thanks a lot for sharing. I want to shout out Jim York, who's listening tonight in the Super Snowmageddon of mid-Nebraska. As school's been called off already, and in Omaha it hasn't even snowed, just for the record. But perhaps where Jim is in the central part of the state, it might be snowing at this point. I don't know.
Well, you guys would be very happy to know this is like, if anybody in Fall Creek is watching this, at any time, there's a very good chance that as soon as I get done here that I'm going to call school off for tomorrow.
Well, that would be a first for Dads and Ed. We were talking about that pre-show, Josh and I, when his internet was working. We were saying how cool would it be if Joe called off school.
Done. You got it.
Everybody in Fall Creek is listening.
Yeah, that's right. You light it up, man. We're going to do it. So you can say this, if it's a Dads and Ed first. Yes, I'm going to cancel school
right now.
That's right. No, don't do it yet, man. I got to get the plan together first. I got all these things I got to send out at one time, so nobody gets all cranked out about it. But yeah, I just, as I'm on here, as I'm with you guys, I get texts from all the other school districts in the area, and I was like, this school's closing, this school's closing, this school's closing, and it's like, that's to me, honestly, that's not the hardest, but it's one of the hardest calls to make when it comes to school leadership, and it's a logistical move, but it really sucks a lot. It's awful, and it's because you want kids to be safe, but you also know that being in school is very safe for a lot of kids, and sometimes safer. So you want to make sure that they're in a place that they can that they can be loved and learn and that kind of thing, and you just want to make sure you make the right call. So today I actually got out and like I sent stuff out today. Early, just to say, hey, here are all the channels that we use. If you want to, just so you know, it's, we're going to try to get to you if we can, early, but here are all the channels that we use to decide whether or not we're going to have school. And you know what? There are times we're going to miss, and I'm sorry about that. But if you ever don't agree with the call that we make, and it's a closing school, and you want to keep your son or daughter home, that's completely fine. It's totally an excused absence. You won't hear a word from our school district on that.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Go Crickets and branding, you've co-authored some books with Tony, The Power of Branding and Principal PD. I'd love to hear a little more about those. I've ordered them on Amazon tonight, so I'm excited to read them here in the near future, but can you talk to us a little bit about that as we wrap up here?
Yeah, no problem. So I wrote the books, and Tony just put his name on them because he wrote the intro. So we were trying to get more buzz out of it because he's all out there and doing his thing. So I figured that if I put his name on it, life would be good for him for a while.
So is that? Let me interrupt real quick. So is that like the Big Ten Network picking up Maryland? You just picked up Tony to get the audience?
It's actually just Rutgers. It's Rutgers.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
He is the Rutgers of telling your school story.
Okay, carry on with the interesting information.
Yeah. So. Well, it's interesting because Tony and I didn't know each other before we went. I went to an ed camp in New Jersey, and I met him there. We had talked on Twitter a couple times, and I was doing this whole deal on telling your story for a local group of superintendents, and he was doing one for a local group of principals. So we met at ed camp New Jersey, and we're like, "Yeah, you want to do this session together?" And we're like, "Yeah, no problem." And it was actually, I'll make fun of Tom Murray until I'm blue in the face, but he is the one that got us started. We did the session, he was in the session was filled, people loved it, and he's like, you guys need to come on Ed Tech Chat on Monday, can you do that? So we did that, and we got a huge response there, and then like a week later we had a conversation about doing our own podcast, and then a week after that we got a call about writing the book, The Power of Branding. So it all went really, really fast, and Tony is one of the best people you will ever meet. He's one of my best friends in the entire world. And to be able to write 2 books, and now with the 3rd one coming out soon, not soon, but coming, it's so fun to be able to write with a guy that totally gets it, that's really transparent, that pushes my thinking, and that we have 2 different lenses. But when you read the books, people who know us will read the books and they're like, I don't know who wrote that one. I don't know if that was you or that was Tony, because we kind of write the same. So so yeah, so the power branding is actually, I think, our favorite, because it really is so simplistic. At the same time, not enough schools are doing it, and we can change the narrative of how schools are looked at if we just start talking about them, in places where we don't. And we're allowing people that have no affiliation with schools to tell the stories of what our schools are, which is complete crap. Because they don't have any idea what my 9-year-old is doing, or what my my 6th grader is doing, or what my 9th graders. They have no idea. What they're still talking about, not getting like a second chicken sandwich or getting put up against the wall for recess. That's what they're still talking about, and that's not fair, because my kids are crushing it. My teachers are crushing it, and they should be like rewarded for that, and we're not allowing that, because we're allowing other people to tell the story of what schools used to be rather than what schools are today. So that's really what the books are about. Even the second book, Principal Professional Development, is really just about owning your own learning and making sure that if you're the lead learner in a building, that you act like the lead learner, like you are modeling the learning, which we talked about at the beginning.
Joe, just to kind of finish up, one of the questions, it was kind of a follow-up to something you were mentioning earlier about conferences for your own kids, and not having the superintendent walk in. But then you mentioned this idea, and I'm wondering what impact it has on not only superintendents but principals. And it's this idea of social media in this space where we are sharing our beliefs and we share the things that we're passionate about. And in a case like that, where you're in a district working with other people, does that ever? Do you ever get any feedback from folks who work with teachers, or feel like they're reading those things and have this additional pressure because social media just puts a spotlight on things like that? And I know at a very different level, I'm not at an administrative level here, but putting some things out there about my beliefs, and then teachers that I work with and that my kids are in their classrooms, it strains relationships sometimes. And I'm just curious your thoughts on that, because there are so many people doing that now and sharing things that they're really passionate about and that they love, but it does put you in a weird spot sometimes.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think that there's a fine line to walk, but at the same time, I don't want any questions about how I feel about certain things.
Right.
And I am all about student voice, and I'm all about authentic learning experiences for kids. At the same time, I know we're not there yet all the way, and people will look at my Twitter feed often. They'll say, okay, hey, I saw that you tweeted this out. Should we be doing this? And I'm like, wherever you're at, and we talk about, and George Curl says it best. He talks about, your whatever, everybody's A to B is different. And so what we tell people is, I don't care what your A to B is as long as you get to B. Let's just get there. And if looking at my Twitter feed makes you nervous about how I feel about stuff or how I'm going to evaluate, then you know what? I can't help you, because that's what I'm going to do. This is what's good for kids in my eyes. And if we can help people, have that, just that transparency, I think it looks good. Having said that, if the board told me tomorrow, you have to get rid of your Twitter account, you can't tweet anymore, I would have to get rid of my Twitter account, and I would have to not tweet anymore. I would also look for a new job, but I would have to do that because I have to feed my family. Right. And I understand that, but I wrote a blog post last week about the WIA, the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Association, and some stuff that they were talking about in terms of chants and cheers and stuff. And the ESPN was killing them. And so I just brought it out. I'm like, well, here's the problem. Here's why they're killing you. I mean, you got to understand, this is exactly, this is why you're getting crushed. And here's how I would have helped it. And we had our high school kids that went on and just crushed on interviews. They just crushed. And they answered the questions about athletes and social media in, like, I couldn't have stood there with cue cards and had a better answer. They were amazing. And I was so damn proud of them. But before I sent the tweet out, before I sent the blog post out, I emailed all of my board members and said, I want you to read it. Just tell me what you feel. If you feel like it puts the district in a bad light, I'm not going to send it, just so you know. And they all read it, and they're like, this is awesome, send it, go. And that was it. They loved it. So, and that got a lot of traction too. Like, people really liked they just really liked the post, and that's, I mean, it was fine, but at the same time, I needed to make sure that the board was on board with what I wanted to do.
Interesting.
Well, Joe, before we let you go and get back to your superintendent duties, who you got for the Super Bowl next week? Since Green Bay's not in there.
Yeah, so so here's how I feel about the Super Bowl, because once the Packers are out, I really, you don't really care anymore at that point, and I don't know, Packers.
Understandable.
They're killing me, man. They're killing. Like, do you know that the Packers, the last 5 of the last 7 years, they've lost on the last play in the playoffs? 5 of 7 years.
Really?
Awful. Killing me. We got like 4 more years of great quarterback play, and any Packer fan that complains about quarterback play at any level needs to just stop talking, because we're talking about like 20 years of top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league on your team. So stop. Anyway, so I would love to see Denver win, because I think Peyton Manning, I would love to see him go on top. And even though Denver beat the Packers in the Super Bowl, that's fine. So, but I think Cam Newton is as exceptional a player at the position as I've ever seen. I go back to like what Michael Vick used to do, but he's like just bigger and can do incredible. So I don't know. I like watching him play. I'm going to say Carolina wins, but I'd like to see Denver win.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great point about Mike Vick. I think that Cam's got the arm that we always wanted Vick to have.
Yep.
I think he's got the consistency that we always wanted. They both have the legs, but I think Cam Newton's got the better surrounding cast and the better cannon.
Yeah, he does. He's like Tommy Frazier, but can throw.
Yeah.
True.
That was for you, Josh.
Look at that. Nice. Appreciate that.
Hey, I used to love watching triple option, man. I'll tell you that. Watching triple option football is about as good as it gets for me.
Hey, there are still plenty of fans around here that would love to harken back 20 years ago to those times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, man. That's good stuff. But I don't know. It's better than thinking about what Bo Pelini was going to say, I guess, at the same time. Hey, and Wisconsin's not in much better of a spot. Or not, hopefully they are now, but for a while it got a little bit ugly.
You know, the positive with Bo Pelini is it brought us faux Pelini. So there is still good that we have given to the world because of that.
I thought that Twitter account was as good as it gets. That's the one with him with a cat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that Bo Pelini walked out of the tunnel with a cat one day for the spring game?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Did the little Lion King holding it up?
That's funny.
It was good. Good times.
That was the and they did Nebraska was the first real social media push for when the young man that played in the game during the spring game, the real little guy. Yes, Jack. Jack. Yep. And you want to be brought to tears, stuff like that to bring you to tears. I'm just like, forget it. I watch that stuff like, you got to be kidding me. That's what the last thing, athletes at any level have such an impact on what kids can do and and our kids, like being a K-12 building, our athletes, 12, our high school seniors, interact with our 5 and 6 year olds all the time. And when these elementary, middle school kids walk through the hallways and they look at these kids in their jerseys and they look at them like they're gods and goddesses, right? And they stare and they marvel at every move that they make. That is such an incredible and impactful opportunity for both kids. And I'm just lucky to be in a spot that values that. So.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to more on the successful schools, and good luck with the books.
Thanks, guys. And thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Dad's an ed, and we all got to remember that we're dads first and educators second. So you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for letting me come on.
Absolutely.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks. All right. We are going to transition into the app side of the week. Brent is up with the apper side of the week with one that I actually just learned about this week.
Yeah, and I did as well, Josh. I thought it was kind of interesting. I saw it in your Voxer chat there. It's my friends up in Nebraska. So I went to this meeting on Friday here in Kansas City for this thing called Kansas City Digital Drive down at the Sprint Accelerator building downtown. And they shared this, everybody was talking about Slack, and there were some business folks there, and I was kind of like, what is Slack? And so kind of got a quick introduction to what, if you go to slack.com, and I wrote myself a note here. It's a messaging app for teams that are changing the world. So kind of has that element of you can create channels and different things going on. And like I said, it seems to be really caught on with kind of the business world, or maybe even city-related things, or just in general different. And I hadn't heard of it in education as of yet. So Laura Gilchrist, good friend down here, that works in the Kansas City area, and then some of the team that I am on with KC TechNet, we started exploring it almost immediately. And so anyway, I think it's worth a check out. I have not vetted it that much yet, but I'm excited just to kind of try something new, and I kind of have a feeling it could have some value, so it might be worth checking out. Slack.com. And there's an app as well on your devices, mobile devices.
And Brent mentioned that Voxer group. They're actually, someone was using it as a book club also.
Yeah. Guys, I might lose my battery. Power's about to go out if I do.
Good. Sorry, I just muted you because you were echoing as well. So apparently it's just going to be Devin to finish out the show. So Slack, they were using it as a book study for actually the teachers in the school, just as a way to organize it. So yeah, I haven't messed around with it either, but I'm going to attempt to unmute Brent, and then Devin, go ahead.
All right. I have what do I have? Twitter follow tonight. I'm going to share a kindergarten teacher in Illinois who I got to meet when I was working at a school there last year before, and we were just chatting online again the other day. It reminded me that really great kindergarten teacher named was Vanessa Witherell, small school in Illinois. Just tweeted hers out. It's at @vwitherell. But I think she's just a great, passionate teacher who just wants the best experiences for the kids that she has in her classroom, and she's all about trying to utilize technology in a way that enhances those opportunities for kids. And so I'm gonna share Vanessa's name tonight.
All right, well done, good. That's a new follow for me too, so fantastic. My coming event tomorrow is a snow day, so what I would like to know from you guys is what snow day activity with the kids. We will hopefully, if we get enough snow, either tomorrow or Wednesday. Notice I'm already calling off school for Wednesday. I am in no position to do that, so that means absolutely nothing, however. But hoping to get the sleds, get enough snow that you can get a little ramp off the porch. What about you guys? Favorite snow day activity?
I've got mine built here already, even though I won't have a snow day. But we were working on that earlier tonight. I'd go fort and sledding if possible.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening on the podcast and can't see that Brent just turned his computer, he has a blanket fort already set up and ready to go in the basement.
Let's see. Mine is staying inside and drinking hot chocolate.
Okay, fair enough. Girls don't sled anymore?
They do sled, so they'll go out in the backyard. We have a kind of a big hill in our backyard, and they'll sled into the house. That's kind of my next goal, is to just build a sledding ramp that goes right into the door, so when they're ready to come in, it just shoots them right in. Not sure how safe that is, but whatever. And so yeah, we'll go out and do that. I don't know if tomorrow's gonna be a day for that. Shoveling is gonna be a real fun thing to do tomorrow. See if I can convince. Maybe that'll be my dad moment of the week next time, is how great my daughters were and they came out and helped me shovel. That might be something. But I'm not counting on that either. So.
I was actually at the Lowe's, and my son. There we go. My son saw the shovels at Lowe's and talked me into buying a new shovel for him because his gloves are too small for the one that he has. And I said, that's fine. But I just bought you a $23 shovel. You better be out here helping me. There's some responsibility that comes with you getting this brand new shovel that your gloves fit. So I don't even know that he'll be able to lift the shovel, but we'll see. Let's go down to District Spotlight. Devin, who you got this week?
My District Spotlight is going to be the journalism folks over at Thomas Jefferson High School, Jacket Journalism, and they have been doing a great job of covering the election. So they've gone to all these events recently. They were one of only, I think it was 3 high schools in the metro area to cover President Obama when he came and spoke in Omaha a couple weeks ago. And they've done some really great things, and such a great experience for those kids too. So the at Jacket Journalism folks are my district spotlight for the night.
All right, mine, I just tweeted from Dads and Ed. Aaron Nickman is one of our Project Lead the Way teachers. Does phenomenal stuff. It is quadcopter season now. They participate in the Google, I forget what it's called now. Google has a little competition about quadcopters, and so they have designed one that looks like the Millennium Falcon. So you can check that out on his Twitter account. So he's got just phenomenal stuff going on up there. But Brent.
All right, hopefully I'll hang on here for dear life. I'm going to go with Mike Becker. He's a principal at William Chrisman High School, one of our high schools, and just appreciate how he is so passionate about his building and his school and sharing their story and the good that they do there. And so kind of around what Joe was talking around with the branding, I think as I was reading up on Joe's stuff tonight, I thought he'd be a good shout out.
Nice. All right, well done, gentlemen. We made it. We've made it through another week. Technical issues and all, but we're here. We're all alive. We are back. We're back in 2 weeks, day after Valentine's Day. So hopefully we all can pull that off well. Can we announce our next guest? Is that a for sure? Okay, I know he's actually watching, so.
Yes, on our document of all documents, it says pretty sure he's in.
Okay, Matt
Let's
Miller.
just do it.
Okay, Matt Miller, out of Indiana, junior high teacher, basketball coach. We're gonna get him in between basketball and track. So excited to have him join us. And until next time, we'll see you then.